Good evening. Let's see how many people have got notification here tonight. Well, hi, Joe. Ouch. So, got a few people coming in here. Trucking girl. And Richard. Jesse. Ken. Hi, how are things going up there in Canada? There's Ray. Classic car traveler. Debbie Hart. Good evening, everyone. Wait for a few more folks to get in here. Give you an update. Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. Thanks, Katie. Love you too. Um, so yeah, I had my surgery performed Tuesday morning, this past Tuesday morning, and been on the mend, shall we say, in recovery. Uh, Finally got my lip back. Had I don't know if it was the breathing tube or whatever it was that with the wrenching around my shoulder. The my tooth apparently went through the inside of my lip, so I had a fat lip. Like somebody must have sucker punched me on the OR table or something. Hey, Linda. So that's finally got to the swelling and everything just gone down on that. And I still have a couple of, I got bruises, lots of bruises. So now I'll schedule up tomorrow. I'll schedule up the physical therapy side of things. Stretching. It's really nice to not have that little bugger that's crawling around. It's an inflammatory cyst, two of them, and they were kind of working to cross the nerves. And every time they would pop across the nerve, it would be like, God, yow. So, God. So, and I just got the pain of the normal feeling that it's kind of post surgery pain, and still need to. My sound has an echo, echo, echo. Let me see. Can we get a confirmation from somebody? I want to work on that. Let me work on that. All right, let's work on that. Is that? Let's bring that. Okay, is that better now? Audio is somewhat. Now it's hard to hear me. I wish I could hear myself. I need an earpiece so I can turn it up, but we'll test it this way. Hello. Sounds like I'm in a tunnel. That's kind of weird. Testing. 1, 2, 3. We'll do a couple of audio tests here real quick, folks. Bear with me.
Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the Yeti directly and see if that helps. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the Yeti directly and see if that helps. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the Yeti directly and see if that helps. Okay. Oh, shoot. She left the door open. Hang on. Abby, come on. Come and get Abby, please.
Abby, come.
Shoot. Come on. Come on.
Abby, come.
She left the door open.
Oh.
Come and get Abby, please. Okay. Here's her phone. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so I made a couple of settings, different settings, I should say. So it's good now. Okay. It appears that the problem was in the restream with noise cancellation. So we turned that off, and it appears to have fixed it. So, no, Jesse, that's what happened. Abby snuck in when my daughter handed me the phone so that I could hear myself. Abby snuck in. And thing of it is she is the literal French bulldog in a china shop when she's in here and I'm streaming. Because my lap is the most important thing when I'm at my desk. So that's it. Anyway. So, in any case, I start physical therapy probably the end of next week. And I've been pushing it. They've got me on medication, anti-inflammatories, things of this nature. And I've been doing stretching exercises and trying to use it as much as possible through all of this. So they had to do some well, they called it scraping, I guess, that from on the inside, which is why I'm all bruised up down below. So they had to scrape a bunch of stuff out of the joint and then and then stretch it out. Yes, it was outpatient, Lucy. I checked in at 6:30 in the morning, and they were wheelchairing me out to my car where Mr. T was waiting at like 10:20 a.m. So, really good. So, what I tried to do, I tried to get a reduction. I tried to reduce myself off of the drugs, off of the painkillers, and said, okay, well, I'll do that. I learned that you don't do that because even though you try to stretch and try to do the exercises and the rotation and everything that they want you to do, if you don't have the medication, a couple hours later, it comes knocking at your door. I'm keeping up with the prescribed amount on the prescribed time because I did go through a day of I shouldn't have done that kind of thing. So, but yeah, we're definitely doing good. Thank you, Lucy. Love you too. So, I've been doing a lot of thinking about what is it that patriots in America, what do we have to do? I was doing some reading here a bit ago and noticed that obviously everyone is looking at the Ukraine thing. The Ukraine thing more along the lines of the almighty buck. And And the fact that you've got the resident is up there bidding to put billions more and billions more into the Ukraine, it's just a laundry money laundering deal, and it's very evident to the world. So now Germany and Italy are the people are coming out, and in Italy, you've literally got the transportation blocking access and not delivering any of the equipment that was promised by the Italian government to go to the Ukraine. You've got Germany protesting by the tens of thousands of people today, actually yesterday and today, about the amount of funding that Germany is giving. But again, true to form, we don't see any protests in the United States. It's really kind of disheartening to see the fact that there are so many Americans that are against these policies and these wrongdoings. But we can't come together and fill the streets the way they do in these other countries. That's very disheartening. And it gives a feeling of failure. Last week on Saturday, there was supposed to be this great rally, this great freedom rally at all the state capitals. I talked about it, and I decided, myself and Mr. T decided to go there. And we had nothing to do with the organization of this rally. We just decided to participate in this rally that was supposed to be huge. Does anyone here have any idea how huge it was in Carson City, Nevada? The huge outpouring of patriots in Carson City, Nevada at the prescribed time was 2. Yours truly and Mr. T. We were the only 2 that showed up. That's why I didn't live stream on Saturday. I was disgusted. I sent a message to the organizers. The organizers said, "You're kidding me. We spent 6 weeks on 9 platforms, 24/7, and no one showed up." So, well, 2 of us showed up. So, that was crazy. We have seen, and I want to do a hats off. I want to say hats off to Soup Mama and Polish Agnes, amongst others, including their supporters, for what you are doing right now in taking those donations, that money that was donated to you. You guys went and spent thousands of dollars for food, water, and supplies, and you're on your way as we speak to Ohio. Hats off. Just bravo. Americans helping Americans. But and also on another note, Saznak is retiring from trucking. He sold his truck, and I think yesterday the new owner picked the truck up. So Saznak is officially retired from the trucking industry. So we wish him luck on his endeavors. I understand he's going to continue with his bus and his converted bus and do some traveling and do like he did in the past, do traveling videos. So good there. So yeah, so last Saturday was a total bust, and I would not have made good company, let's just put it that way, if I would have turned on a camera. Hey, Mona. Oh, good. Holding a supply drive in Branson. Good for you. So everybody, Mona in Branson, Missouri, will be holding a drive to try and collect some more goods for Ohio. I expect that any dry goods that are not used in Ohio will go towards inevitable disasters in the United States, shall we say? Um, who knows what's coming? So, yeah, spicy. It's truly very nasty what happened, and ultimately what you're going to find there is that the blame is going to be put on car 23. That's the car that was seen 15 miles before Palestine to have a truck fire underneath it. It went by a CCTV camera, and there was a truck fire. Now, the trucks are the equivalent of the wheels, if you will. They're big steel axles and wheels, and they're called trucks. And they were seen 15 miles prior to the disaster on car number 23 with a huge fire underneath car 23. Which is when they can't, they were getting temperature. Norfolk was getting temperature alerts and stopped the train, and it derailed when they stopped because of a heat alarm on car 23. Well, now who's liable? Is it Norfolk, Norfolk, or Northern Suffolk, whatever is it, Norfolk, the train, or the car owner for lack of maintenance? The latter is the correct answer. When it comes to the DOT, it's the same thing in the trucking industry. But everything comes back on the driver not doing proper inspection before driving. Ultimately, the deep pocket, however, will come back on the owners. In this case, Car 23 is owned by a company that was purchased by Sunoco Oil. So Sunoco, you're going to hear in the news here soon, I'm sure of it. So Sunoco, they didn't do the maintenance on the trucks under their cars, the inspections, because the engineer doesn't do the inspections. There's the engineer gets in it and moves that train down the track. It's up, when you got 3 miles of train cars, you got multiple owners on those. So that's going to come back on the owner of the car, I'm sure of it. Anyway, yes, preventative maintenance. That means that Sunoco is going to be under the microscope for that. Then we have the fact that our government was basically ignoring the whole thing going on in Ohio until number 45 showed up or announced that he was going. Then all of a sudden, things were all in play. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Day late, dollar short. And then they were trying to blame him because they were changing the regulations in the Trump administration. And those regulations are what caused this accident. Typical Democrat narrative. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. So then, who's doing what? Anyway, Ohio's a disaster. My prayers go out to those in Ohio that have lost, who are damaged, who may be damaged here in the future for that poisoning. So yeah, vinyl chloride. Not a good chemical to be working with. But look at the number of disasters around the country, heck, around the world in the last couple months. It's mind-boggling to see all of these disasters. And then, what about what they're doing to our nation's chickens, our egg supply? You know, a few weeks back, I had mentioned that my own hens had quit laying eggs 7 months prior. Had 10 chickens, not one egg, in 7 months. So I did some research and found that I wasn't the only one that had their hens just dried up. So after seeing some reports that they were changing their feed, I too changed their feed. I went from chicken hen layers feed to goat chow and just added in grit, which chickens need, as well as oyster shells to help the thickness of the eggs. And wouldn't you know it, 7 days later, we get an egg. The other day, I think we got 4 eggs out of 10 chickens. It's winter. 4 eggs is normal for 10 chickens in the winter. But now we're getting multiple eggs per day. So as it warms up, I think that that's going to be something that's going to go out to the 8 or 9 eggs a day. Where am I going with that? Changes have been performed. They're claiming, they being the brackets, they're claiming their claims of avian flu is BS. It's not avian flu. Somebody's messing with the feed. We've proven that. It's no longer a theory. It's fact. Every single one of us that was having a problem upon changing their feed have had their hens started laying their eggs again. If they've done it to the chickens, what else have they done it to? So I'm in the process of sprouting vegetables and building a greenhouse. So the greenhouse is 16 by 20. What I did was I used an old, one of those old Harbor Freight 10-foot wide, 20-foot deep garages that just used the tarp. And one day the wind got in and took hold of it, and it became a sail. And when it landed, it bent all the pipes up, the legs and everything else. Well, I salvaged all the straight pipes and shortened it down to 16 feet and welded it all together, and I hoisted it up to an area that I spent a couple of weeks leveling, terraced, because I live on a hill, and terraced a lot of that and made a terrace large enough to be able to hold the greenhouse. So Mr. T and I are going to go and build boxes out of old pallets, planter boxes, and put in there. And we found this deal on Facebook Marketplace. A gentleman who works at a glass shop in Reno, they had changed out all these windows in this house, and they're the old wooden frame windows that you'd push it up and it had a weight inside the sill. Wooden windows. And we picked up 13 huge windows, and that's what we're going to use for the house. So I think we're in a point of no return here. I'm not sure that we can have a rally big enough to make change in the United States. I think we need to be prepared for the worst. We can hope for the best, but I do believe we need to be prepared for the worst. We need to be able to feed ourselves. So pick up the books, learn how to do canning. I've been doing a lot of bread recipes, sourdough. Got my starter working. Works great. In fact, this morning I made sourdough bagels with elderberry and honey. I think there's 2 left out of a batch of 16. So that was a pretty big success today. But you learn how to do that, how to make your own bread. Again, if they can do it to the chickens, what are they putting in those preservatives in our foods? So that's not all. You need to learn how you're going to protect yourself, your friends, and your family. I think it's time for us to just be real here. We're not going to be able to go out, snap our fingers, and get 10 million people in this country. I know you're out there. And I wish that we could flood the streets, every single capital across this country, and eventually come up with enough people to where there would not be enough room for the shoulder-to-shoulder people to fit in D.C. To let the government know just who they work for. Although that is what I'd love to see, and I do believe that that's when the attention would be grabbed. Just not seeing it. Not seeing it have, we started to see some turnout a year ago. By the way, on the 23rd of this month was the 1-year anniversary from when we left Adelanto, California. The 1 year. The people didn't come out on the walk. And I don't know that the people will come out on anything other than maybe local rallies. So I would say that what we should be doing is getting ready for the worst, hope for the best, and get our local activities going. Pick a day, Saturday, and start getting people together. Meeting in your capitals. Hell, even your major cities, your cities close to home. If your capitals are hundreds of miles away. We have to get the people. Everything I've tried has failed to get the people. We're just not seeing it. We're seeing it in other countries, like I've said many times. We're just not seeing it here. We need to start putting the pressure on our local governments and our state governments. That we don't like what's happening with them and our federal government. So that, I think, is where we need to go. I do believe that's going to be the future. I saw that the Brunson brothers case was again dismissed, which means they're going to go around for another try. So we don't have our hat to hang on that one. And currently we're still watching HJRS 7. It's over at the Senate, but the Senate hasn't done anything with it since the 2nd of the month. It landed in the Senate on February 2. It still is sitting where it landed. So the Senate is dragging their feet on doing anything with HJ Res 7, even though they did a hell of a job with SJ Res 63 back in November, which was the same thing. So if they would pick up HJ Res 7 and at least get that up to the floor, get it voted on, get it passed, we can then stand on that because we know what's coming. We know what's coming. They're pushing this. They've even got this Paxlovid. It's unbelievable. Oh, it helps you with the symptoms of COVID. It's come out of the blue. That too is running under the emergency use authorization of the FDA. So we have to end this state of emergency. That's what HJ Res 7 is about. Because they're going to continue to whittle away at our rights. They're going to continue to whittle away and demean our ways of life. Our belief mechanisms are under attack. Just look at the drag queen story hours. People not thinking at all that it's wrong, and it is wrong, to take your child to watch a biological male shake his stuff in a bikini in front of your preteen child. It's sickening. It's disgusting. It's immoral. You do a background check on these people and you find that a large majority of them have charges in their history of crimes that are of a sexual nature. And you're gonna take your children there? What's wrong? What's wrong with you? We have that. We have this, transphobia. You're a transphobic. No. I don't care what the hell you do. If when you go in your home and you close your door, do what you do. Just don't bring it down and onto me and make it my fault because I don't accept you. But I'm not going to stop you from doing your thing. But when you start putting it in my face, we have a problem. And you too should have a problem. So, a large majority of individuals don't have a problem with individuals that may be female partnering with females or males partnering with males. They don't have an issue with that. We have an issue when you bring it into my home. Subject my children. Argue that we're wrong and you're right. Then I start having an issue. And I do believe that that's a lot of Americans' feelings. So, yeah, I personally have friends who are gay. I retired in 2003. I was a vice president in a Silicon Valley company. I had individuals that worked for me for many years that are gay. And I would stick up for that person in a heartbeat. I never had to, but I would. several people. So, but it seems like the left is not happy with just that. They want to stick it down our throats of this trans and stuff that makes no sense, for instance. Here you've got Rachel Levine sitting up there in Washington, D.C. as a 4-star admiral. Really? The first female 4-star admiral. Well, guess what? You kind of have to serve to become an admiral. You earn it. You don't just, so you've got this biological male who goes around as a female who won't do anything with another biological male, but only does with a female. To me, that is a mental illness of an individual who just likes to dress up as a girl. And oh, by the way, that single person is in charge of our country's mental health. Look in the mirror, Rachel Levine. Because you're the biggest clown in D.C. Not the only clown, but the biggest one. A 4-star admiral. You're not even an admiral. You're just playing costume party. Anyway. So yeah. The country's gone to hell in a handbasket. And we need to, as the citizens who have got some level heads, we need to figure out how we're going to keep us from being pulled into their rabbit hole. And just keep chiseling it away. Just keep chiseling it away. That's what they're going to keep doing. So, as I'm going through this recovery phase, I'm thinking of ways to be able to not only prepare and be prepared. On my website, patriotroster.com, once you have registered there, you can go to the how-tos, and I have a quick and easy sheet and a formula about emergency communications, for instance. Let me say this. When, not if, when you lose the internet, when you lose cell phone, how are you going to communicate? How are you going to be able to tell people that you're still alive, what you're doing, how, where to go, who to trust? How are you going to do it? Trust me, you should be thinking about it. I have the answers for you on patriotroster.com. Your foods and your water supply, your self-medical supplies, herb books, what plants have medicinal values. They should all be in your library. What to grow to sustain yourself. How to grow. How many people now can do that? How many people can do things like create colloidal silver? Harvest your own lye to make your own soap. Grind down your wheat berries into your own flour. Make your own bread without having any harmful chemicals. Can your own foods. This is what we should be doing to prepare. And then, how do you protect it all? You should all be thinking about that. Because until we can in mass take our country back from these radical tyrants, we have to be thinking about how we can survive. Now, on Patriot roster, and when it comes to radios, I speak to a radio known as a HF radio, and then I speak to VHF and UHF radios. VHF, UHF radios are line of sight radios, okay? So, I don't have one handy here. This radio here is a Yaesu FT991 Alpha. And now this radio has HF, UHF, and VHF all in one box. So this is basically two radios. And you see it has two antenna connectors. So I can point it out here. One over here and one over there. So this is two radios in a singular box. And this radio, it runs on 12-volt battery. And with this, I can talk around the world. But in a non-emergency situation, you have to have a license to operate it. I've been licensed for many, many years. Good question, Brenda. Rendering tallow, and that's another thing. Colloidal silver is another thing. Creating your own chloroquine base, also known as quinine. How do you do that? It's been used for over 400 years, and you can make it yourself in your kitchen. So we need to be active, but we also need to be thinking about how we're going to survive. Even if we do get the people together, when the stuff goes down, how are you going to survive it? You still need to eat. You still need to protect yourselves. So we're doing that. But we're also thinking about what needs to happen. What do we, the people of the United States, need to do to get this country back on track? Do we have to go into a World War III? Do we have to have a revolution? We are in a revolution. It's kind of the silent side of it right now. We're definitely in a silent civil war. What do we do? How do we fix this? From everybody I've spoken to on the Hill, it's all got to be done with people. Masses, so many people. The DC couldn't contain us all. That's what it's going to take. And I am a firm believer in the 10th Amendment and bringing it from the states. We get the states pressured enough to be our voice with the federal government. And then we go to the federal government. And that's my belief. I could be wrong, but I do believe that that's what we need to do. We need to continue to try and network with other individuals, other patriots, and create our not little black books, but our big black books, our rosters. How are we going to communicate when the balloon pops? That and your water supply and your food supply and all of that needs to be your number one thinking right now. Needs to be. Yeah. So we need to get the state involved. Everyone's states. And like I said, we got to Carson City. There was just Mr. T and myself. And it wasn't even our damn event. We were just going there to meet people, and nobody was there. Yep. So rather than trying to do another walk, I don't believe for a moment that that would be successful right now. We get the masses of people, and we can do capital walks. The walks are what bring the attention, but you got to have the people to garner that attention. A couple of guys walking down the street with some flags isn't going to cut it. When they have to shut down the streets for miles to allow the people to do what is in their First Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights to do so, I start turning the tables on them. And that's where we are. I think I covered just about everything. If one of my mods let me know if I missed anything. Over in Walk Chat or something like that. We can do that. But check out the website, graywolfwalk.com. Help if you can. We are going to continue this fight with what we're doing. I apologize for not being on as much over these last few weeks. A lot was on my mind with getting ready for the surgery and what's next and so on. Yeah, there you go. What do you think? So hydroxychloroquine, the Texas girl put up a recipe for hydroxychloroquine. It's actually more on the quinine front. Okay. Which is your grapefruit rind, your lemon and your lime citrus fruit rinds, and simmer them with a glass covered pot. Don't boil. Simmer the rinds in about four cups of water or so, and let them simmer for about 4 or 5 hours. Then turn the heat off and let it go for another 4 or 5 hours, and then run it through cheesecloth, and you have a form of quinine that's been used for more than 400 years against parasites. Then look up colloidal silver on how you can create a daily consumption of colloidal silver, which also assists you in your body's cells and protects them. Between the quinine solution, which is, a form of your hydroxychloroquines and your chloroquine family, these are things that, you don't have to be a chemist to figure out that the old timers knew what they were doing with this stuff, with their daily shot of apple cider vinegar and their daily shot of colloidal silver. And it cured for, it kept them from getting colds. It kept them from getting sick. So, with that, what's going on in Arizona? We now are getting reports that Katie Hobbs has been working with the cartel Starts with an S. What is that? Yeah, it starts with an S. I think I saw a little mention of it from Weather Cat. If I'm so, check into that. Keep your ears to the grind. But that maybe something's coming soon for that. It's Sonola or something like that. Yeah, there you go. Sonola cartel. She's taking. We've been turning around saying it's the George Soros monies. May not just be the Soros money. Maybe there's, it appears now that she's been taking money from the cartels in Mexico. Something's wrong with the election system. We all know it. I can't get into detail or I'll get on the social media front. We need to fight that too. So we need to keep it real. We need to keep it real. Let me see here. Sinalola, something like that. Anyway, their name's not important. The fact that they're a cartel is. We got to keep our nose to the grindstone here, and we've got to be putting our thinking caps on, and not so much the tinfoil hats, which I've got one up here, but we need to make sure that we know what we're going to do as Americans. Right now, I'm not sure that most of the patriots, I speak to the patriots, know what it is that we're going to do. I know what we've been trying to do, what I'm still trying to do, to gather the people. That is number one. Trust me. Just think about it. We've never gathered the entirety of the United States citizenry to remind the government who they work for. We've never done that. We've done it in little bits and pieces, and a convoy here, and this there, and a protest there. But we have never gotten into the millions of people going out and getting into the streets and getting into their faces. And other countries are seeing that this is what works. It gets attention when you have got the people. Mainstream media needs to go. So the more citizen journalists that can come out there and see and get out and push out, you think of it this way. If you can start to use that tell 10 people who will tell 10 people who will tell 10 people, when you, instead of say tell, you show and tell. You send via email, via text messaging, via telegram, via signal, videos of Americans filling the streets, like what you're seeing in Germany, what you're seeing in Italy, what you're seeing in New Zealand. You start getting the attention. That's what our goal needs to be, people. Look, I wanted to give you all an update. I am going to put together some of the bread recipes, and I'll put them up in the form of some short videos or some videos up on my social medias. If you're not, don't be intimidated, but it's time to start thinking about how to make your own food and get away from the processed food. It's A, it's cheaper. B, it's more healthy for you. So I'm going to say goodnight to y'all. And It's coming up on my medication time. I do not want to miss that. So, but I am going to say goodnight. I love all of you folks out there. Keep up the fight. Hold the line. A solution can't come fast enough, but be ready for anything. So with that, I'm going to say good night. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States.